introduction. My name is Nick Laboda. Some of you probably know who I am. Some of you may not. I'm a senior account manager at Respondus. I've been around for about 6 years. I'll be doing today's demonstration titled LockDown Browser and Respondus Monitor Protecting the Integrity of Your Online Tests. So basically we're going to cover two products today. We're going to cover the LockDown Browser first. We're going to talk about how this product can provide a solution for your proctored testing environments, and then we'll quickly transition into Respondus Monitor, which is designed more for those non-proctored testing environments where you probably want to start doing testing or you're currently doing testing already. But before we do that, I just want to talk about some of the key challenges I'm sure you all face, whether you teach online or you're an administrator, in dealing with online assessments. One of the biggest concerns and one of the biggest challenges that we see, and I'm sure you all see, is digital cheating. You know, how do we prevent students from simply surfing the web and looking up answers to your quiz and test questions? It's a big problem. It's probably the #1 way that students are cheating on online assessments. Outside of your proctored environments, how do we prevent students from having access to external resources? So in a proctored lab, you got watchful eyes on students, but outside of those areas, students could have another computer handy, they could have a group of friends present, have a smartphone or textbook or whatever the resources could be. Also protecting the integrity of your exam content. We know a lot of times when you put these exams online, you put a lot of time and energy in creating them. And it's a shame that students can copy, paste, and print them, share them with others, maybe use Snagit or Camtasia to pass it between their peers. So we want to try to help protect that as best we can. Student identity is also a huge topic, especially with accreditation. A lot of accreditation agencies are trying to figure out, beyond your LMS login credentials, how do you know it's the right student taking the assessment and not a student passing those credentials on to somebody else and taking it on their behalf. And then this isn't really a challenge, but more flexibility and convenience. When students are paying for a purely online course, how can we afford them the flexibility and convenience of taking these assessments whenever and wherever it's most convenient for them, as well as for you. So today's products are going to hopefully address all those challenges that we just spoke about. And we're going to start off by discussing LockDown Browser. And this product is really truly ideal for your proctor testing environments. So when you have a proctor in the room, you can rest assured that students can't quick open up another tab or another window to look up an answer and then shut it down before the proctor can turn their back. And then we'll talk about Respondus Monitor and how this is ideal more for your non-proctor testing environments. So if you could use this product to allow students to maybe do testing at home or in other places. So LockDown Browser has been around since about 2006. It's a custom browser that we've designed, and its sole purpose is to provide security for your online testing. And today we're going to focus on how it integrates solely within Canvas. Now it's important to note when students are using LockDown Browser, they're essentially being prevented from all forms of digital cheating. That's kind of a pretty broad statement to make, but I put a couple of examples up here just to showcase my point. The browser prevents students from simple copy, paste, print. When the browser's in use, students aren't able to use those functions. Students can't run screen capturing programs or screen sharing programs. Snagit or Camtasia are probably a couple that you're very familiar with already. Students can't surf the web. They can't go to any other URLs, such as Google or Wikipedia, to look up your answers to your quiz questions. And students aren't able to access any other application while LockDown Browser is in place, such as instant messaging programs, Skype, or any other type of browser. So I'm going to start off today's presentation by showing you the instructor's role and how easy it is to enable LockDown Browser for an assessment. Now the instructors can apply the settings for their quizzes on a case-by-case basis. So any quizzes that already exist within your courses, you can choose which ones require the use of LockDown Browser. Now the integration is done via a Canvas server configuration. And I would say most customers are hosted by Canvas, so this can be done by your Canvas rep or somebody at Instructure. Now once that's in place, you can then go in and apply the LockDown Browser settings to that quiz. So I'm going to log into Canvas right now and just show you how easy that is to do. Now there's actually two ways to enable LockDown Browser. For those of you that are currently using LockDown Browser with Canvas, the current way to do so is to simply log into the course that you're teaching, and then you click on the quiz, and then you're going to identify the quiz that you want to require the use of LockDown Browser, and it's basically a new quiz setting. But today's demonstration, because for the lack of time that we have today, I'm going to show you the new LockDown Browser integration component. It's called the LockDown Browser LTI dashboard. Once the LTI is in place, you'll see the LockDown Browser dashboard on the lower left-hand corner within the course. So when the instructor clicks on this dashboard, it's going to show you all of the quizzes that exist within your courses. Now hopefully in just a moment, once it's done refreshing, you're going to see all of the quizzes on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see a LockDown browser column to the immediate right of that, and then you'll see to the right of that a Respondus Monitor webcam column. Now we're going to focus on that column a little bit later on, so today we're just going to focus on, or right now we're just going to focus on LockDown browser. So all we need to do is simply identify the quiz. We'll click on the context menu to the left and select Modify Settings. We'll scroll down so you can see. And then you just require LockDown browser for this exam. There's also an optional access code, or we call it like a test password. So if you want to put another layer of security in place, this would require the student to actually enter a password before they can get to the quiz. But it's optional, you don't have to use it, and I won't use it for today's demo. There's some advanced settings that are new that I'm not going to talk too much about now, but I will focus on it later if it comes up in the Q&A. We have some new settings that Respondus has implemented within Canvas. The ability to lock the students into the browser until the exam is complete. They allow the students to take this exam with an iPad, and this pertains to both products, as well as allowing specific students to access this exam with screen readers. So if there's any additional questions you have on that, we can focus on that at the end. So we'll require LockDown browser, we'll hit save and close, and that's it. It's really that simple. So for the instructor to kind of double check their efforts, you can see now that this quiz has the LockDown browser requirement after the name of the quiz, and also the LockDown browser column is now required in green. Okay. Let's switch gears here, talk about the student perspective. Now, the student perspective, I mean, your students are going to be the main users of the software. You know, they're going to use it more than anybody. The actual installation of the browser is a simple web link. You can provide that web link in any manner that you find necessary to get it out there. If you wanted to push it out to your managed computer labs or testing centers, there's an easy way to do that. We have an admin guide that explains how to do it. We can provide instructions on how to do silent installs. You can email it out to your students. There's a myriad of ways to distribute the LockDown browser link. But once students click on it, it's then installed on that laptop or desktop, and it can be used for any exam or quiz that requires use of it. And with the LockDown browser campus-wide license, you can install the browser anywhere. So it's not limited to where you can actually allow the student to do testing. It could be on campus or off campus, including students' own personal machines. And it's both compatible with Windows, Mac, and an iPad at this point. Now, once the browser is installed in the machine, it sits directly on the desktop on a PC, but in a Mac, it's in the Applications folder. And here it is. Pretty easy to identify. Looks like a padlock. So when students click on it, it's essentially a portal to your institution's version of Canvas. So the nice thing is, there's no guesswork on where to go. It takes you directly to your Canvas login page. And for here, what the student will do is simply log in with their Canvas login credentials. So whatever username and password that they have for Canvas, they'll type that in just a moment. So we'll log in with our username here. And then we'll walk through the same steps that we would as if this was a normal browser. So we'll go into the course that we're enrolled in as a student. We'll identify that course from up here. And then we'll click on the quizzes area within Canvas. Once it's done loading. So we'll go to the quizzes over here to the left. And then the student would simply identify the quiz that has the LockDown browser requirement on it. And it's very simple to identify because it actually says LockDown browser. So here it is here. So go ahead and click on that. Let's try it again. We're having a slow loading day here. This is set up for unlimited attempts just purely for demonstration purposes. So we're just going to take this again. And now, once the quiz launches, LockDown browser is taking control. So this is really, truly where the browser is coming into play. So when you're thinking of LockDown browser, think of it conceptually as a modified, or better yet, a stripped out version of a standard browser. So when you're actually looking around the screen, we'll just give this a second to do what it's trying to do here. Sorry about that. Demonstrations are not fun unless there's technical difficulties going on, right? Makes the presentation all more worth the while. And like any student, I'm simply clicking on the link as many times as I can, probably making things worse than it already is, right? All right. Let me just exit out. We'll try it again. Okay, so we're going to go back into Canvas. We're going to log in like we did just a few moments ago. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the same steps. Hopefully we can launch the quiz, and then we can talk about truly what the LockDown browser is doing on the quiz page. Okay, I'm not used to using my keypad on my laptop. I'm used to use an external keyboard here. So go into the course again. We'll identify that quiz one more time. We'll take a drink while we're waiting. Okay. Let's cross our fingers. All right, so what we're going to do is once we launch the quiz, I want to talk about, go ahead and resume. Okay, see I've taken it 17 times. I still get 1 out of 3 each time, so I guess I better study harder next time. And what it will do is when you start looking around the page when LockDown browser's on, you're going to notice that there's some key elements that are happening. You're going to notice in the upper left-hand corner that your file edit menu has been removed. LockDown browser doesn't want you to be able to copy, paste, and print, right? So we take away that copy, paste, and print functionality that's up there. You notice that the URL address field is also removed. So when I say stripped out version of a browser, it's basically taking those components away. The browser's kind of doing a funky thing here. I'm not really sure why there's like a little backdrop in the background area here. It's not supposed to be doing that. There we go. That's better. You notice I can't navigate back and forth outside of the quiz environment. I'm locked in. The ability to minimize and maximize have been taken away. And also LockDown browser opens as a full screen. So you'll notice that the start button, the system, and application tray are completely covered over. The right-click menu on my mouse is no longer working. My function print screen is not working. Alt-tab. You know, any type of quick shortcut or keystroke combination or quick launch that's native to both PCs and Macs are completely eliminated. So what LockDown browser is doing is identifying all these different types of prohibited programs and shutting them down in the background, you know, such as those screen capturing programs or instant messaging programs and that type of thing. But it's not affecting the integrity of the exam whatsoever. So it's not changing or modifying any Canvas quiz settings. So if you set up this quiz for maybe time limits or randomization or put other types of parameters in place to make their lives a little bit more miserable and trying to deter cheating, those quiz settings will still apply. And in fact, LockDown browser will support any formatting that Canvas will support. So we know how students like images and audio files and video files and hyperlinks and all those things that students like to kind of jazz up those online quizzes. And I put together just a couple of advanced formatting just to showcase my point. You know, I have an image in here. Down at the bottom here in question number 3, I actually have a link. So instead of embedding something, I can link out to anywhere on the web. That's kind of a cool feature of LockDown browser. It doesn't, you know, it gives you some flexibility here. So if you didn't want to embed an image, an audio file, a video file, that type of thing, you could point the browser anywhere you want it to go. But keep in mind, when it opens up this other page, once it stops loading, it's going to point you to that particular area, but it's going to block all links surrounding that page. So rest assured, the area that you're pointing the student to, whatever that may be, maybe it's an image or a video or what have you, all the links surrounding the page will be blocked by the application. So you see that little link up here. So no matter what I try to do on this Wikipedia page, as well as, you know, the search function, nothing is working up here. So once the student comes here to do what they need to do to help them answer the question, it's just a matter now of exiting out of this box and coming right back to the quiz. All right, so since we're having some slow loading pages and tech support, I'm just going to quickly go through this. We'll submit it. And then once it's submitted, you can then safely exit out of the browser, just like you would with any other type of browser. So go ahead, wait for it to load. And then once it's submitted, we can just simply exit out of the browser and resume where we were before. And that's that. Okay. So, recap. LockDown browser, again, is just adding that security for online testing. It's helping to maintain the integrity of your exam content since students can't look up answers to those quiz questions. As a byproduct, also increase the completion rates of your online exams. Sometimes, like I was, get clicker crazy, click all over the page, and whoops, I accidentally exited out. Well, as a byproduct, LockDown browser doesn't allow you to do that, so it creates more of a stable testing environment. And it also is designed to help instill instructor confidence in online testing. So in a proctored environment, this is really all you need to address digital cheating. You got a group of students in the room, you all have your computers in front of you, I'm a proctor, I'm walking around. I know you can't use your computer to look up answers, so that as a proctor makes me feel good. But in a non-proctored environment, LockDown browser does not address two key concerns. The first one is an obvious concern. How do we prevent students from having access to another computer, or all of you in the room to help me answer questions, or a smartphone or tablet or whatever it might be? And also, how do we know it's the right student taking the assessment? How do we really know for sure it's not somebody giving, hey, take this exam for me on my behalf and I'll give you $50 to do it. So Respondus Monitor was designed to address those key concerns. Now, Respondus Monitor is a companion product for LockDown browser, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit more in a few moments. But this uses a webcam and video technology to record the student while taking an exam. So this is truly ideal for your non-proctor testing environments. And again, we're going to focus on how it integrates within Canvas. So as I had mentioned, it's a companion product for LockDown browser. You're probably already kind of wondering, well, what exactly does that mean? In terms of the actual application, the actual browser that students will use, that's going to be exactly the same. So your students don't have to learn a new piece of software. If they're used to using LockDown browser, if they're accustomed to it, or if they've never used it before, it's just one tool that they use for both products. The instructor turns on the setting from the same dashboard. So you don't have to go to another area within Canvas to figure out where to turn it on. I'll show you exactly where to do that in just a moment. And the server plugin's the same. Once you get that new LockDown browser LTI in place, you can have access to both tools. Now I'm going to go in and show you the instructor's role and how easy it is to set up both tools. And then while I'm in there, for the sake of time, I'll show you the final result, what the end result looks like. And then I'll go in quickly as a student and show you what the student experience will be like. Still going to use LockDown browser, but they're going to have to go through a startup sequence first. All right, let's go back into Canvas and try this again. So that same art history practice quiz. Now what we're going to do is we're going to enable Respondus Monitor for that same quiz. Now the first step is always still going to be to turn on LockDown browser, because we still have to maintain the integrity of what's on the computer before we can have a webcam staring at the student. So that's always going to be the first step. So once we turn on LockDown browser, which we've already done, you'll now see below the Respondus Monitor webcam settings. Now by default it's set to not require this for the exam. So if you just want to use LockDown browser, that's the default there. You can require Respondus Monitor for everyone for this exam. So if you teach a purely online course and you want to ensure that all your students use this tool, well, this would be the option that you would select. And then you have this either-or option. You could either use Respondus Monitor or you can use LockDown browser on its own in a proctored lab. So in this scenario, you give your students a choice. You can say, hey, student, if you want to stay at home and use Respondus Monitor, that's fine. You can use this tool. Or if you don't have a webcam or if you're not comfortable using this product, we'll come on campus and you could take LockDown browser in a proctored lab, and we're totally okay with that. So that's kind of a nice feature too. This is useful maybe in a hybrid course. Maybe you require the majority of your students to come on campus because that's just what you require students to do, but maybe a handful live out of state, or if you live in a big state, directly across the other end of the state. So it might be prohibited for them to come on campus to take these assessments at those designated dates and times. And I know some institutions say, well, you're going to have to go out and find a proctor and pay for it on your own, because that's just the way it is. It's unfortunate, but that's the only way to kind of level the playing field for everybody. So this kind of gives you that choice. I'm just going to turn on for everybody, just keep it simple. Now below you'll see this little startup sequence. Now this is a set of optional events that occur before a monitor webcam session begins. With the exception of the webcam check, all of these other startup sequence events are optional. So if you said, hey, I don't want to require my students to show an ID, just uncheck the box. That's all you got to do. Well, before I go any further, I just want to talk through these and explain why they're equally important. First of all, the reason the webcam check isn't optional is because, in all fairness to your student, we want to make sure they have a working webcam before they use this tool. And this will do both a video and an audio check to confirm that their webcam works. And that's really the only requirement to your students, just to have a webcam. External or internal, does not matter. The next piece is a student photo. This is exactly what it is. It's just a student smiles for their webcam and hits take a picture, and it takes a picture of the student. This is to be used as a means to confirm student identity. Same thing with show ID. Typically when institutions are using this feature, they're asking students to show their institution ID. Just something with their name and face associated with it, so that way when you couple these two together side by side, you have two different ways to confirm that it's the right student. And you can edit the text to say, you know, I want you to show this type of ID versus, you know, a driver's license or a passport or something like that. And then the environment check is subjective. Really, this is where students are using their webcam to show that their testing area, wherever that may be, is free of those prohibited materials we spoke about before, such as second computers, smartphones, and that type of thing. And then additional instructions is just anything you want to convey to your students before they begin the exam, such as stay seated, don't move, don't get up and run around. You have 45 minutes to take this exam, you know, don't talk to others, you know, so on and so forth. You know, some of the obvious things that you think students would take for granted there. So a couple tweaks. Choose which option you want, save and close, and that's it. That's all the instructor needs to do. And now when you look at this quiz again, you'll see that it now has the webcam component attached to the end of it, and now both columns are required in green. Now, while I'm here, for the sake of time, let me just pretend all of you are students in my class. You've all taken an exam or a quiz using both tools. Let me show you what the final result looks like. So let's just pretend everything's been submitted to the grade area. So when the instructor comes back in here, when you click on this context menu now, you'll see this video review option available. And what this is going to show you right off the bat is some pretty good data. You're going to see all the students in your class. You'll see the date and time that the assessment was completed, how long it took them to complete the assessment, whether or not they use Respondus Monitor, which is indicated by the webcam, but if you gave them that choice of the either or option, if they chose LockDown browser, then that would show up as lab. That way you would know why there's no video there, because they just opted for LockDown browser. And then the student score. So right off the bat, you get a pretty good idea of, you know, what happened during that assessment. So now it's up to the instructor to decide who, if anybody, do I need to investigate further. Do I have a suspicion on a student or a group of students that I want to go in and see if there's really anything there? Am I really concerned about the students who did poorly, 33, 53, 55, versus the ones that did very well, maybe in half the time or maybe around equally amount of time that the other students took it? So depending on what criteria that you use to want to go and investigate further, then you simply select the student's name. Let me see if I can pick one with some good data in here. And it'll show you everything that was captured during that entire testing session. Hopefully. While we're waiting for Chelsea, we'll see what's going on with Bob's stuff. So hopefully once it's done loading, what you'll see is you'll see the startup sequence that we spoke about from the instructor view. Oh, here we go. That's a good sign. And then below, you'll see all these thumbnails. And this thumbnail is the entire testing session that the student had just completed. But we don't anticipate instructors watching videos. You know, this is not what this product is designed to do. Respondus Monitor is designed to be a deterrent to cheating. So when you're putting this type of technology in place, you're conveying to your students that you're essentially leveling the playing field and you're reducing the pressure on those students who feel that they need to cheat in order to stay competitive in those highly competitive environments, such as your nursing courses or your medical courses, business courses, or any course for that matter. So what we're trying to show you here, once it's done kind of spinning its wheels, is basically the entire session broken out into these rough 1-minute thumbnails. So with a quick scan across these thumbnails, you can tell generally very quickly if something looks amiss. Let's see if I have something for good. Chelsea's is done down below. Let me just move down and show you hers. There we go. So you can see the entire testing session down here. And again, that rough 1-minute thumbnail, that time changes all the time. It's randomized, so students have no idea what that random is going to be each and every time that they take it. So with a quick glance across these thumbnails, you can generally tell very quickly if something is amiss, such as maybe there's a head missing in a frame, or maybe there's multiple heads in a frame, or maybe the student's clearly talking on the phone or doing something that they shouldn't. If you notice something or something looks suspicious, you can click on that segment and just watch from that period in time to see if something truly is there, or is it really just a non-issue. And you can actually see that playing over here on the right once it's done recycling. And if you notice something, you can say that you've reviewed the video, maybe you flagged it, maybe you want to get another set of eyes on it, maybe you want to make a note to yourself, come back and take a look at it a little bit later. These notes that you would actually create here would actually populate this little comment section up here to the top. And that's it. I mean, that's probably as exciting as it gets when you're looking at the little thumbnails, is when students are just looking at their computer, this is all they're doing, is just looking at their computer. And I could stop that. Okay. Now I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. Oh, here we go. This is the startup sequence I spoke about before. There's a photo on file which says image not available. If your institution has digital photos of students that you want to upload here, we give you that flexibility to do so. So that way you can compare your photo to the student's photo to their ID card. So you have 3 different ways to confirm that it's the right student. And if you're curious to see what their environment video looks like, and if you just want to make sure that they followed your instructions, because every instructor might have a different philosophy on how to do this, you could just simply watch that just to see if anything truly was amiss, or if they had anything out that they shouldn't. Okay, since we're just thinking, I'm just going to move on. And we anticipate instructors spending anywhere between 15 and 20 seconds going through those thumbnails, scooting on to the next student, really not spending much time whatsoever. And the only people that would have access to this content will be the instructor or somebody that would have like Canvas level admin access to the course. All right, let me get out of that page and let me see if we can actually take that exam as a student using LockDown browser. This will be the true test of how our internet is doing here. So let's go back in real quick as a student, see if we can get to that assessment, just so I can show you what the student experience will be like, and then I'll open up the floor to any questions that you might have. All right, so we're logging in as a student. We'll go into that course one more time. Just check on our time, see how we're doing here. Okay. Go to the quiz. And I'll be running out of time really soon, so we'll see if we can get through as much as we can through the startup sequence. And then folks, if you want to stay for questions, I'll be more than happy to do that. Okay. So what will happen here is a student will be now asked to go through that startup sequence as before. So with LockDown browser in place, they could just jump into the quiz, but because we have Respondus Monitor in place, we want to go through a few steps here. The first part, there's a terms of use. There's a piece between our company and the student, and then there's a piece between your institution and the student. We put some boilerplate here that you can change and modify and make it your own. Some institutions like to embed their institution's honor code here, because before students can go any further, they have to click agree to move on to the next step, which is the webcam check. This is going to do a quick network test to make sure everything is working properly. And then once it confirms it, it's kind of giving me some data points here. It will then go ahead and do like a video, little audio and video recording just to make sure everything is working well. So I got some bad latency test results. That's not very good, is it? Could mean I have some bad bandwidth going on. And I got my little jetpack up here, so I'm not really sure what that's all about. So what I'm going to do is just try it one more time, and if I don't get it, I'm just going to skip over to our web page, and then I'll just wrap things up, because I know we're pressed for time right now, folks. So while we're waiting, why don't I take some questions? Any questions? Yes? What that will do is Respondus Monitor will adjust to whatever bandwidth is available to the student and actually adjust it accordingly. I don't know if there's something funky going on in this room. I'm not sure if I have a ghost or something kind of messing with things. But what it will do is it will do that latency test and then adjust it accordingly, and then allow the student to go back in and take the exam based on what they have. We've actually tested with dial-up. I don't think I would ever use dial-up. If that's how that was necessary, I would just never use a computer in my life. But the reality is that's what people have. You know, that's what they have to work with. So the product will work. It will be slow, but it will work. Oh, sure, absolutely. Yes.
So one of the submission types for certain quizzes is file upload. Some of our students are required to work in an Excel spreadsheet and upload the work that they've done.
Okay.
Now I know LockDown browser doesn't allow students to access other programs. Is there any way to adjust that?
There is a spreadsheet viewer that there's a little tag that you can embed in the actual quiz itself. When you're building the quiz, I think it's just a little hashtag and put viewer, and then another hashtag. And then when students launch LockDown browser, they can actually manipulate an Excel file. But it prevents them from creating like a URL and that type of thing. But they can manipulate equations and do mathematical formulas and that type of thing. Yes?
So on a Mac, the swipe is gone?
The swipe?
Yeah, like 3-finger, 4-finger swipe where they can go. They have another browser hidden over here.
Yes, it does, yes.
And the command shift for the screenshot?
Yes.
Disabled as well?
Yes, so we're talking about some different command changes and different webcams and screens. The LockDown browser will detect those and actually shut them down so the student can't have access to them.
Now, does the IT department have to set that up, or that's automatic?
Automatic. Yep. Question?
Does Respondus Monitor work on the iPad?
It does. Yep. Things were working well like they should. When I was in the Instructor, there's that advanced settings that was there, and when you expand it, it says allow students to use an iPad.
Okay.
It has to be an iPad 2 or higher.
Okay, because I understand the browser works, but the monitor does as well.
Yes. iPad 2 or higher because the iPad 2 has the camera, so that would work with the monitor piece.
Is it perfect compliant for K-12? Where is the video stored?
Yep. Videos are stored on our Amazon Web Services cloud server for a minimum of a year, so instructors have instant access to those videos immediately. And then we store them up to 5 years. So if you have videos after a year's time and you want to restore those, maybe you saw something and something comes back to you 3 or 4 years down the line, there's a restore button that you can click on, and the videos will repopulate themselves between 3 to 6 hours. Yes? Right here.
For the iPad, is that a app that I have to download or what?
Yep. It's just go to iTunes. There's a LockDown browser app that you can download for free. If you're a LockDown browser campus-wide customer, you can do that now, and there's no additional charge for it. There's also a free 2-month trial that you can manipulate with both products if you're interested in either or. It's nice to run them both together because they're basically the same thing. One's just using a webcam component with it. So, and that can be found on our website. Question in the back? Okay. I'm bad at this. The question is this compatible with Chromebooks? Unfortunately, no. The reason it's not compatible with Chromebooks is because Google doesn't have a software development kit to allow us to develop a LockDown browser to lock down a Chromebook. And in fact, I don't think they have a software development kit for any developers at this point. I believe in the future they probably will, but I think our hands are kind of tied at the moment. But we're hoping in the future we can have something.
Have you had any reports or problems with screen readers for
Yeah, great question. So the question's related to screen readers and ADA compliancy. In the past, LockDown browser didn't play nicely with those programs because it allowed for alt tabbing and task switching and that type of thing. But we do have a solution now. So when you go into that dashboard, under that advanced settings, you can allow students that require the use of those assistive technologies to use LockDown browser in conjunction with JAWS, Windows Eyes, whatever those types of programs would be. So yes, it does work. The back?
security logging on those videos as well as like reporting for who has access to those? Is that available?
We do have reporting for Respondus Monitor. So basically, there's an admin and 2 support contacts for any of our licenses. So those folks can have access to reporting. And what you can see is the instructors that are using it, how many students have activated, what courses are using it, the date and times that the assessments are taken. That doesn't show you any video content. That's just pure reporting of usage stats of the product. But the videos and everything like that, the instructor can have access to their own content within their own course. But if you have admin level access to Canvas, you can go in and see all the videos based on your credentials. So. No, there's no reporting. No, it would just be the instructor can only an instructor tied to that course could see the content of the videos, or somebody that would have higher level access.
As well, in a VDI environment, it's monitored.
Yeah, it would work. Yeah, we do have a bypass code that would work because by default, LockDown browser doesn't like those environments, but we do have a way to make it work in those environments. So yes, you just work with our IT guys, and they'll give you the bypass code to get it set up.
And how does that handle leaving that environment? So if I bring up like view on my home desktop as an application, I can minimize that and go to my local browser.
I don't know. It's a good question. You can talk with me offline, and I can see if I can get some more IT answers on that. In the back?
Yeah, question about what happens if a student is on a questionable connection and they temporarily lose their web connection. Are they able to get right back into the Respondus?
Good question. So the answer is related to internet connectivity issues or low bandwidth, because we know students can be taking these assessments anywhere, right? So they either have good bandwidth or they could be taking an exam at Starbucks or some other place. The answer is it depends. You know, if they lose it intermittently, Respondus Monitor is always going to be searching for a connection and try to make that connection as quickly as possible. But we know even with a normal browser that after a period of time, the connection is just lost, and you'll have to go back in and hopefully try it again. Same thing with Respondus Monitor. If it goes out intermittently and it comes back on, you'll see in that comment section in the dashboard will populate saying that internet was lost, and then it will give you a little timestamp of when it was reestablished. And you'll actually see like a black video that will pop up showing that there wasn't any video during that segment in time. So if the student comes to you and says, hey, you know, I lost internet for a period of time, but I was able to finish, and you see that video, but you also see this populated field that, you know, validates what they said, then you know that there was nothing fishy going on. So it will automatically serve that up in that comments field for the instructor if something like that's happening. Any other questions? I'm sorry I couldn't actually show you the student view. I was painfully couldn't get through it. But last question?
Is there any plan to make the exam upload software available on Mac?
Are you talking about LockDown browser, or are we talking about separate product?
Well, I'm talking about separate product. Where you can import questions.
So the question is, you're referring to Respondus 4.0?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about a different product, quiz authoring tool, Respondus 4.0, Mac version. It's not on our roadmap, but what we would like to do is if we do something, we'll probably do a web-based version of Respondus. So that way we'll give it a facelift. It will, you know, affect our PC users, but also more importantly our Mac users will have access to it. So, all right, folks, thank you for your patience. I'm sorry we couldn't get through it. Please bring that form up to me when you get a chance, and I'll give you your webcam. Thank you.